review and approval of the minutes from the previous meetings. This is an action item. So we have actually 3 different minutes to approve. We have the first one, which is the NOAA grant PAC meeting, which was held on November 12th, 2024. We have the ABOR meeting of June 27th, 2024, and then we have the NOAA grant PAC meeting on November 13th, 2023. So does anybody on the board have any questions or comments on number 1, the NOAA grant PAC meeting? Any questions or comments on that one? Any questions or comments on the ABOR meeting? Any questions or comments on the NOAA grant, November 13th, 2023? Okay, so we have no questions or comments, so we'll take these in order. If someone would like to make a motion on the first agenda.
I'll move to approve that minutes.
Do we have a second? Okay, we have a second there. All right, any comments or questions on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Just note, Amy Berry, I wasn't here.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yes,
again, for the
is
record,
Stacy,
Raphael, I abstained as well for not being here.
yes, this is Stacy. I abstain as well.
Very good.
Same from Alan Janae. Sorry.
Any other ones? Great. Item number 2, the ABOR meeting 6/27/24. Do I have a motion on that one?
I'll make the motion. Amy Berry.
Do I have a second?
Second that one as well.
All right. Any questions or comments on the motion?
I abstain.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. All right, go on with the abstentions.
Alan Janae abstain.
For the record, Raphael Villanueva, abstain.
Stacy M, abstain.
I got it. Greg.
Okay, I think we have that one. The third one is the NOAA grant PAC meeting 11/13/2023. Do I have a motion on that one?
Amy Berry, I'll make the motion.
Do I have a second?
Strickland seconds.
Okay,
Or not.
we already made a second, so you can't do a second. All right, I have a motion to second. Any questions or comments on the motion and second? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Okay, and the usual round of abstentions should be about the same.
Here, here.
All right. Okay, I think we have that one down. Item number 4, review and approve the agenda today. Are there any questions or comments from the board on the agenda today? This is an action item. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda for today?
Amy Berry, I'll make the motion.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Any questions or comments on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed,
Aye.
nay? All right, motion carries. Our agenda is approved. Okay, item number 5, public comment. This is a time for public comment that deals with public comment to the board. So you have 3 minutes. So anyone who wants to make public comment, please identify yourself. And you have 3 minutes. Is there anyone in this room that would like to make public comment? We have another location that would make public comment.
Online, yeah.
All right. So,
There's only one public person.
so is there somebody online that wants to make a comment? You can dial in on phone too. Anybody on dialing in by phone? Anything? No. Okay, hearing none on the public comment, we will now go to agenda item 6. This is for me. So first of all, I would like to welcome some of our new members to the board. Alex Bacchus. Alex, why don't you introduce yourself to everybody?
Yes, hi everyone. Alex Bacchus, I'm the Northern Regional Director for the Governor's Office of Economic Development. Bob Potts, I believe, had the position before, and he went off and retired on us. So I am thrilled to be here. So he said how much fun he had, so I jumped at it. So I appreciate it.
Great, looking forward to your expertise. Next is Stacy M. Welcome, Stacy M. From the Nevada Indian Commission. Would you please introduce yourself and just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. My name is Stacy M. And Stacy Montooth asked me to serve on the committee for, I always call it the Nevada Indian Commission, but we recently changed our name. I think it's the Nevada Department of Native American Affairs. So my day job is a extension professor. And then, like I said, I'm on the Nevada Indian Commission and some other boards. So I'm looking forward to joining this group. Thank you.
Great, welcome and looking forward to your input. Then we have representing public health, we have Greg Jewell. Greg, where are you? Go ahead and introduce yourself, please. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, everyone. I'm Greg. I'm an emergency physician here in Reno, and I've been here for 20-something years, taking over for Dr. Pasternak. So in addition to emergency medicine, I also do some wilderness medicine consulting, and I'm also on faculty at the university. So super excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
And which hospital are you with?
Reno Regional primarily.
Great. Okay, well, thank you for joining us. And then from Travel Nevada, Rafael Villanueva. Rafael, would you introduce yourself, please?
Absolutely. Good afternoon. Rafael Villanueva, CEO of Travel Nevada. I'm a designee for Brenda Scolari for the Department of Tourism and Cultural Affairs. I'm excited to be part of it. I know outdoor rec is a pillar of everything we do, so I'm excited to be a part of the organization and the group.
Great. All right. Well, thank you all for being here and serving on this committee. This is actually our first meeting of 2025, so looking forward to doing some great things as an advisory board. So I wanted to make a couple of comments before we get into the other agenda items. I was kind of looking up some, really the reasons why we even meet. So I wanted to read this statement, which came from a Prevention Alliance. It says, access to outdoor recreation can have a significant positive impact on health outcomes for people, including their physical, cognitive, and mental health. Numerous studies highlight the growing body of evidence that shows many health benefits in these areas. The behavioral benefits in particular have been highlighted during the COVID-19 pandemic, especially for children and youth who are faced with social isolation due to online learning, which pretty much continues since a lot of them are stuck on their phones all day. I happen to be doing right now, but despite the clear benefits of accessing outdoor recreation, there are still many barriers that hinder access, both at the individual level and the systematic level. At the individual level, barriers include cost of entry, lack of transportation, access to outdoor equipment, time to research places to go, and access to information. At a systematic level, the drastic increase in the number of people getting outdoors and insufficient funding has left challenges with ongoing maintenance operations, making some spaces difficult or even unpleasant to access. Examples are long lines, overcrowded spaces, overfilled garbage and toilets, poor road access, reliance on reservation and permit systems, lack of signage, and some other ones. While state investments in outdoor recreation have been building in recent years, it's still not been sufficient to address the barriers and challenges outlined above. And then it goes into detail on all these. So, we're really dealing with public health when it comes to this board. So I appreciate all of you being involved and making sure that we have not only healthy Nevadans, but our healthy tourists that come here. In addition, I got everybody a copy of our Nevada magazine. It's the newest one. Thank you, Raphael, for putting this together. A lot of good information in here. And anytime we can feature outdoor recreation activities in this magazine and you feel it's important, just get a hold of Raphael and see how we can, any of your areas of expertise dealing with outdoor recreation, if we can include it in here. And if you want to get on the mailing list, in order to get a copy of this, just get a hold of Raphael and let's try to make this as much outdoor recreation focused as we possibly can. I haven't been doing much outdoor recreation myself because I'm stuck in the Senate all day in the legislative building, which, you know, that sucks, but that's just how I live. So, but it's going to be over pretty soon. And I have a couple of events coming up. I'm going to visit the River Fork Ranch very soon. And I just heard on the news yesterday, Cave Lake is opening up.
Yep.
Can you just give us a little quick bullet point? Because that's kind of a big deal.
Sure. So,
Bob, will you just state your name?
no. Bob Rigel, Administrator for Division of State Parks, for the record. So Cave Lake has been under construction since 2019 to make some fairly critical repairs to hopefully prevent it from having a catastrophic failure. So anyway, since then, the reservoir has been drained and the construction has been moving forward kind of at a snail's pace, but it's now finished. The lake was projected to fill in the spring and it filled ahead of schedule. So at least the filling of the lake went faster than the construction of the dam. So anyway, June 7th is a Saturday, and that's going to be the grand reopening of the lake. So we're partnering with NDOW is going to have some activities going on out there. We're going to do kind of a ribbon cutting, if you will, to reopen the reservoir. NDOW is planning on stocking some fish. I think somewhere in the neighborhood of 15,000. Don't quote me on that, but a significant number of fish to try to get that fishery back up to what it used to be in. Given how much vegetation grew on the bottom of that lake while it was dry, should be pretty decent feed for the fish for a while. So should be pretty decent fishing. Not sure all of the activities, but it's going to be like an all-day thing. So everybody's welcome to show up out there.
Yeah. So June 7th.
June 7th.
Okay. If you don't know Garrett, he works in my office. So let's see if I can make it. And if any of you can make it, that would be absolutely awesome. So I'm looking forward to getting back to my outdoor recreation activities. And that is everything that I wanted to bring up. One other one is I do have a bill in the legislative session, AB 53, which deals with outdoor recreation activity. Basically, it has two components. The first one is it mandates 20 minutes of outdoor recreation for kids in school from K through 5. So they have to get outdoors for 20 minutes. And then the second part is middle school and high school. It authorizes school boards to come up with outdoor recreation activities that they can complete in order to get actual school credit in order to graduate. So AB 53, if you could call your legislators that you know and tell them that this needs to pass, that would be helpful, and we'll see what happens. That bill's concerned. So that is my contribution to outdoor recreation in the legislature. And okay, very good. So now we are on to agenda item 7, division updates. Denise, it's all yours.
Deborah Strickland has her hand up.
Oh, yes.
Thank you for that. I just wanted to ask you, Lieutenant Governor, does that mean let's say that you're a high school rodeo participant? Could you get credits then for your outdoor recreation towards your end credits for graduation? Is that what you're pushing for with AB 53?
Yeah, it's pretty open. It's up to the school boards, the school district board do that. So I believe if this bill were to pass in a school board, Washoe County School Board could put together a curriculum activity for rodeo and
Right.
could get credit. So yeah, it's up to the board, but it's pretty wide open.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is after we get AB 53 done, we go to our school board. Thank you for that.
Yep. Great. Okay. Agenda item 7.
Do you want to let everyone know you're leaving?
Yeah, the Senate floor session starts at 4:30 this afternoon, so I will be here as long as I possibly can. In fact, I would just as soon skip the Senate floor session. But since I'm the president, I have to be there. And so if I have to leave, you are in great hands with our vice chair.
Denise Baronio for the record. Quick reminder, if you're going to speak, just please say your name before speaking so that for our minutes, it's easy to recognize who said what. The division updates, we'll start with me and then we're just going to go down the line. We're going to end with Kendall because she's going to talk about some NOAA grant feedback from the TAC that she'd like to get some feedback from the group on. So for me, I've been working on a lot of collaborative projects with the team, but my projects have been working with Sheba on the Tahoe Meadows project. Since last year, we've been working on the Tahoe Meadows master planning effort. This is a multi-agency proposal with U.S. Forest Service, NDOT, ABOR, and a bunch of other agencies in conjunction with the planning grant that we got from the National Park Service for the Rivers, Trails, and Conservation Assistance Program, also known as RTCA. And the goal is to address critical winter safety concerns at Tahoe Meadows, which sits at the crest of Mount Rose. And for anybody that's been up there, you know that this is a hub for year-round recreation. However, there's safety issues, critical safety issues that are happening during winter recreation due to overcrowding on the weekends, especially after winter storms, resulting in roadway safety issues. So we are currently in the process of reaching out to partners and stakeholders with the initial feedback that we get from them. We hope to move to a request for proposal and RFP process in the next couple of months to hire a master planning contractor. And the goal is to have a master plan in motion by early next year in 2026. The legislative session, we've been over there a lot this year. It's been busy for NDOR also. We have our own bill that we carried this session, SB 21, which we appreciate everyone's support on. That expands our NOAA grant program to create a second bucket for the public to create grant opportunities for everyone else outside of the K-12 realm for projects and programs that could offer funding, including infrastructure. So currently there's no infrastructure component to that grant. So that would expand also infrastructure component. That's not the main focus, but it's an option for people to use the grant for infrastructure if they like. We had a really amazing support from partners and NGOs and the public at our hearing last month. So we really appreciate everyone's great feedback, and we didn't get any negative feedback from anyone. So that was the best part. So we'll keep you posted on next steps for that. We're really hopeful that the bill will pass. We do not have a fiscal note attached to it, so we're very hopeful that that will go through. We have a lot of other bills that could affect our division. AB 165 that is being carried by Assemblymember Mosca creates a council that basically continues and expands the work of the advisory working group that Kendall, who's our education lead, had led last year that came out of AB 164. AB 53 that the Lieutenant Governor is carrying, which mandates 20-minute recess in Nevada, extends independent PE credits, like he was saying, beyond regular sports. So that would give kids the opportunity, if they're in a mountain biking club or, you know, archery or anything like that, they would be able to get credit for that activity also, which I think is great. And then it incorporates that piece of STEM learning that isn't mandatory right now, and that would give teachers an opportunity to take kids outside for lessons and get credit. AB 108 is carried by Speaker Yeager, and that is hopefully going to fund the NOAA grant again, because we have no funding this round. So we appreciate everyone's support on that. If you can call and support AB 104. SB 104 makes AB 108. SB 104 makes an appropriation for green schoolyards. That's carried by Senator Pazina. And then there's a new one that we got yesterday, AB 501 from Speaker Yeager, that authorizes certain pupils to receive academic credit for completing certain outdoor recreation activities. So kind of a mimic of what you're already doing, but without the other components. So
What was that, AB?
501. Mhm. I have met with Anna Cannon for the second time. She is the lead for the USA Clay Target League for middle and high schools across the nation. It's a really cool program. The clay target shooting is an outstanding outdoor recreation activity. The Nevada State High School Clay Target League is a extracurricular co-ed group and adaptive activity for safety certified student athletes in 6th through 12th grade of approved schools. This is an opportunity for high schools to expand what they're offering in kind of a safe, fun, and inclusive way. The league is virtual, which is also super cool because the high schools in Nevada would not have to travel. So because we have so many rural areas, they won't have to travel. They can shoot at their own range, and then the coach sends in their scores virtually against the other teams in the state. There's no cost to the school. It only requires 2 to 5 students to get started. It's a great fit for extracurricular activity for high schools in Nevada, especially currently we have no schools in the state that participate in this, but we have interest from Douglas and Carson and Washoe, so I'm following up with them. Deborah Strickland, I thought maybe this is something that you could, if you have some bandwidth, to assist with, since this is kind of your wheelhouse, and see if we can get some more schools on board in the rural communities down in Nye County. The outdoor recreation economic impact study that we've been working on for the last year is on track to be completed by the end of April. So super excited about that. And that report should be due for public access by the end of June at the latest. I'll be meeting with our contractor, Radbridge, next week to finalize the data. Hopefully State Parks is going to join in on that call. Janice has been really instrumental in trying to get information that we can share with the SCORP, with the statewide comprehensive outdoor recreation plan, so that we can have sort of data that is going to have some longevity to it. So I have so much more to say, but I was going to keep it short. I'm going to pass it on to Elizabeth.
Elizabeth Johnson, Deputy Administrator for the record. I always think it's hilarious that you say you're going to keep it short.
That was
read off 3 pages.
That was, it's big writing.
So for the last couple of meetings, I had been speaking about the OHV, or off-highway vehicle programmatic work that I had been supporting. I get to support that less now because we have hired staff. So I'd like to introduce Caden Barmore. He's the new program manager. And then we were also successfully able to add a secondary position to the program, Katie Honeycutt, to provide the much needed support. So I'm really excited to not get to talk about that at future meetings, because they'll talk about all the great work that they're doing. So yeah, selfishly, I'm really excited to be able to hand that off. And we're really happy to have them on board. I'm currently in the CPM program, so Certified Public Manager program, that's offered to people who work at the city, county, state, federal level to go through formal management training. It's a really awesome program. It's like 300 plus hours, so it takes a couple of years to complete. And with that, you do a capstone project. So I'm getting that kicked off, and it will be a collaboration effort with DMV to help promote the OHV registration program. So for those that aren't aware, when you register your off-highway vehicles, that'll be a dirt bike, an ATV, a side-by-side, those funds support a OHV grant program that Caden and Katie manage. And so we're entities, organizations throughout the state can apply for these funds to put these dollars on the ground to help support OHV projects around the state. So to spread awareness that that's where those dollars are going, is to help support these projects, and also to spread awareness about how to register. Especially if you're registering for the first time, you have to do it through the mail. Depending upon the type of OHV you have. There's maybe a different form you have to fill out, so it can be a little complicated that first time. So also just spreading that awareness about how, how that process works, to also hopefully boost those registration dollars, and also potentially boost that customer service satisfaction with the process as well, so that they know what they're getting into when they start that process. So we're really excited about getting that kicked off in collaboration with DMV and the OHV program. And then for those of you that have been around for a little while, you might be aware of the Boulder City lighting retrofit project. So we partnered with them to get an Economic Development Administration grant several years ago to help pay for that lighting retrofit project, where they're replacing all of their municipal bulbs and lighting fixtures to be not only within compliance of less lighting pollution, but it also uses less energy. So there's a cost benefit there as well. So they've been hard at work getting all of that stuff replaced. And for those of you that are interested, they actually have a really cool dashboard where they're constantly updating like which light fixtures they've replaced and what percentage of all of the municipal light fixtures that is. And so you can kind of follow the progress, which is really awesome. And then we've been given the go ahead to start that first reimbursement. There was a pause there for a little bit of if we were going to be able to submit that reimbursement, but we have that doorway has opened back up. So we're really excited to do that first big drawdown of last time I checked, it was a little over $600,000. So that's moving forward. And I will go ahead and kick it off to Yasmina, unless there's any questions about any of those updates I gave.
Any questions from the board on the first two presentations? Anything? Okay.
All right, perfect. Yasmina, go for it.
Thanks. Afternoon, all. My name is Yasmina Sikonovich. I'm the GIS analyst with the Division of Outdoor Recreation. So for the past couple years, I've been working on the Nevada Trail Finder website, and I maintain a statewide database of all recreation assets. Now all the way down to the county level. At first it was just city and state, but since partnering with state parks, we have helped work on the statewide comprehensive outdoor recreation plan. And traditionally that has been completed through filling out Excel sheets. Now we have put that into a GIS database, and it is so much easier to use. And I will say 20 minutes before this meeting, I just completed my half, so I'm very excited. So as many of you may know, my position has been grant funded since I have took on this project in 2021. On the bright side, this new legislative session has brought a new opportunity where DCNR has been able to put in an IT enhancement where a GIS analyst position will be dedicated to helping and/or with continuing on with maintenance of this database and Nevada Trail Finder. So hopefully all goes well. We will keep you guys updated on how that goes. But that position will not be filled until October. So we have applied for OHV program grant funding that will kind of fill that gap from June until October. So in terms of Trail Finder news, it's been pretty successful. We're still seeing it consistent, about 150 views a day, which I find pretty exciting with minimal advertisement still. I have been sending out visitor center care packages where I put together rack cards for Trail Finder, the OHV program, and/or different things like that, so our rural communities can have something to put in their visitor centers. Plus, it's just lovely to call everybody and, hey, what address do I send this to? Well, just send this to my home address. I'll be there on Sunday. So that's been great. We have our challenge badges that we launched last year, and this month's challenge badge is the Ranger badge. So we're encouraging people to go ahead and go out and support their national parks, visit the Great Basin National Park or some of the other ones down in Clark County. The next update we will be doing is our trailside services. I believe that will be launched by summer. So that will include all of our, mechanic services, maybe some unique camp stays. Where can I go rent a bike while I'm near these trails? So really increase that economic activity while we're recreating in certain areas. Last winter, we did have an ad in Nevada Magazine, so thank you to them for including that at no cost. We are always looking for more opportunities to include advertisements in different magazines as well. So Raphael, we will be reaching out again. We appreciate all the help on that. Since the beginning of this year, kind of moving away from Trail Finder, but a bit more on the kiosk mapping side. So we do help a lot of communities and agencies by creating trail kiosk maps, mostly OHV, because it is hard to find that information in an accessible format. So we have created and I believe we're on the way to printing about a total of 6 kiosk maps since I started in 2023 on this project. So you have 3 for the Bridgeport Forest Service District, 1 for the Wilson Canyon area. We just finished one with Spring Mountains National Recreation Area. It's on Wheeler Pass, and it kind of talks about the charcoal kilns. That's where that will be posted. And we do have we're in talks with Mineral County for putting one at their new staging area that they just put in. So those are all really exciting. And I think people will really enjoy seeing some sort of information when they're out in the middle of nowhere and they know they're not lost. And lastly, I touched on this in the beginning, but we have partnered with Nevada Division of State Parks with doing the statewide comprehensive and outdoor recreation plan. So, kind of organizing that database and putting that all into a really nice digestible format. And that'll be put into a really nice online portal. So that way counties and cities who maybe can't manage that data themselves can see still what their assets are and can request that data at any point. So any questions on that sort of work?
Any questions from any board members?
Hi, Amy Berry, for the record. Can you talk a little bit more, because you said that's an impressive amount of people that are finding Trail Finder for no advertising. Is that because we're quiet in the off season? Or do we not have a marketing budget to drive people to?
Yeah, there's no marketing budget. So far, all the marketing has been just, through the assistance of people putting our ads in the magazines, which have been great. We created those rat cards, which I do have a ton here in the back if you would like to take them back to your office to hand them out, but in tabling at events.
And what about like a social media, which requires human resource, but isn't quite as expensive? Is there anybody within state parks or?
We've been working a lot with Chelsea. She's kind of also served as our PIO. And so I make the ads through Canva, then I give them to her to post. And so far that's been like a trail of the month where we highlight a certain area to go recreate and say, hey, learn more at Trail Finder, or here's the badge of the month. We encourage you to go explore these places.
Great. Do you have any sense of, can you see the metrics on the back end of those visitors, where they're coming from?
I can, yeah. So we have actually a global distribution map and see kind of maybe what countries are the highest. I haven't dug too deep into see the actual states that observe the website.
Interesting to know. Thanks.
Yeah, sure thing.
Chad, do you have a comment?
Yeah, actually just a comment. Number one, Yesenia and team, kudos to you guys. I just want to let you know that in the past 3 or 4 months, I've probably fielded upwards of 10 permitting questions from Hollywood specifically. And I received 2 calls back from producers and scouts saying that it was one of the best resources they've ever used and thanked me. Essentially, I'm passing it to you. So Hollywood is planning their film shoots in Southern Nevada based off your maps.
Wow.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for.
Any other comments, questions? Okay.
Here, let's take it to Chelsea and.
Okay.
I feel like it's gonna be a little bit lengthier.
Yeah.
I'll stand up so you guys can all see my face. So good afternoon. So for the record, my name is Chelsea Kinchlow. I am Program Officer 3 and the comms lead for the Division of Outdoor Recreation. This is my second ABOR meeting. I've been with the division since November of 23. Is that where we're at right now? Yeah. And so I have 3 kind of distinct buckets. So one is a statewide trails coordination effort, the Dark Sky Certification Program, which lots of updates there, and then obviously the communications lead. And so we'll start with some exciting trails news. So for those of you who are familiar with the Truckee Meadows Community College up in Reno, they have a private funder who is looking to fund 3 years of a trail certification program, which would address skills that are significantly lacking for both our nonprofit volunteer groups and trail professionals. And so we are in the process of kind of moving that forward, getting the curriculum developed, and hoping to launch it in spring of 2026. So still very new, still very fresh, but we're very excited to be pushing that forward. I'm also where I see Jay's on the call. So we are also working with Jay on that as well. And because I am the comms lead, I just would like to say that we have been growing our followers on Instagram and Facebook. More on Instagram than Facebook. Facebook's still kind of a mystery right now, but Instagram seems to be ticking up. So I think when I started this position, we had around like 600 followers. We're up to a little over 1,100 at this point, and that's just because we've been like collaborating more with state parks and with the OHV and other partners as well. So we're definitely getting our name out there more. And we also have switched to MailChimp and from listserv. So it's a big difference there because listserv's just a little clunky, whereas MailChimp's just like more fluid, and we can also track on the back end the analytics for that and kind of see who's opening and who's clicking on which links, what's being popular, what news is getting out there as well. And I also oversee the Nevada Outdoor Recreation Infrastructure Grant. So remember, that was like a one-time funding. So we're kind of in the final push to get everyone reimbursed. So we have 4 grantees who have completely closed out their grants, and I believe we have just a handful remaining. And once all those projects are done, I will demand more updates and pictures from those projects that we can push out over the social media. And we've also been working very closely with Kendall to push out the Nevada Outdoor Education and Recreation grantee projects as well, which have been very successful so far. So we'll move on to the kind of like meat of my update, which is the Nevada Starry Skies certification. So I was trying to remember like last time when I talked to you guys where I was even at in this process. I believe it was we were working on amending the Nevada Administration Code to make the program a little bit more operable in the state of Nevada. We did it, we succeeded. And so we launched the program officially in October of last year. And as you guys know, growing programs takes time, takes a lot of outreach. So that is what I've been doing a lot of, is outreach. So talking with different groups who qualify. So looking to work with schools, HOAs. If you guys know an HOA that I could work with, that'd be great. Because those are kind of like, it's a really good entity that I'd be very interested in working with. Municipalities, businesses, and tribal nations, as well as parks and open spaces. So those are kind of the categories that we're looking to work with. And as a reminder, for the Nevada Starry Sky certification, it was through SB 52. So Nevada is the first state to actually pass a certification program, which is pretty unique. A lot of other states have ordinances for lighting, but we actually have like a certification. And a big part of the changes is, again, to focus on reducing light pollution at community levels. So that's kind of like the bigger push with this certification type program. And now for Bob's favorite event. I know it, Bob. We're doing Cosmos in the Desert, which is the first ever Northern Nevada Dark Skies Festival that we have. By festival, I mean it's one night for now. So we kind of looked at like what Great Basin was doing with their like 3-day astronomy festival, and we're like, that's really cool. They were like, please copy, paste, like do it all over again. And so we're like, cool. And if you're curious to know why it's out at Lahontan, it's because Lahontan actually has really good dark skies. I went out there with a meter, read the night sky. That sounds like very basic, but essentially what I did, I kind of checked for light pollution, and it's actually pretty good dark sky. We have the Astronomical Society of Nevada on board. They operate out of Fleshman's Planetarium up in Reno. We also have WNC, so they have the Jack C Observatory. So one of their professors will be coming out to do a constellation talk. And then the Astronomical Society will have all of their telescopes out. So if you guys want to come see like the night sky, this is a perfect time to come out. NDOW, the Department of Wildlife, will also be out with their kayaks, and they will also be providing nocturnal led walks that evening. And there's one more. Oh yeah, we just got the state park interpreters on board too. So they'll be out doing some type of programming, and we'll also have like art in the dark as well. So date April 26th of this year. So it's at the end of the full moon. So we're almost at a new moon at that point, but it also coincides with International Dark Sky Week. And so that's April 21st through the 28th. And we also sent in a proclamation to the governor's office to declare that week Dark Sky Week in the state of Nevada as well. So we're just really trying to bring more attention. The more I talk to people who move from out of state to Nevada, they just go, yeah, I didn't know there were dark skies until I moved to Nevada. And so you're like, okay. Well, this is good base knowledge to know, because we do have like these incredible dark skies. Travel Nevada is doing incredible work promoting them already. And so my outreach efforts are also just to bring and highlight more of our incredible dark skies out here. And exciting news as well, we've been working on a toolkit with Travel Nevada. And so that is in the final phases of being reviewed and edited. And so that is for dark sky specific. So why are they important? Why they matter? Like what you can do in terms of like astrotourism. And of course, it includes more about the certification process as well. So we're hoping to make Nevada an even bigger dark sky state than maybe some of our other friends next door. So, and I think that's pretty much, I have something shiny. I was going to start with that actually, and then I got offbeat with my notes. We have a new shiny website. So if you guys had ever visited our website before, it was in line with kind of like the old formatted DCNR, but now ours closely resembles Nevada Division of Forestry and Nevada State Parks as well. And in addition to really cool videos, we also have the interface has just been updated, and it's easier to read. Anything you're like looking to find is kind of on the homepage. And it's a much simpler and more engaging layout than our previous website was as well. So endor.nv.gov. Yeah. Good. Questions?
Any questions? Yes.
Marcia Baca for the record. A brief question. Remind me, is there a connection between the new license plate for dark skies and your work? I'm assuming there is. So
we are working on it. For those of you who don't know, we have a Save Starry Skies license plate. If you want to see it, that's on the back of my car out in the parking lot. I get that committed to the things that I oversee. And so that goes to Friends of Nevada Wilderness. So they launched that last April, I believe, and they're starting to see some funds come in. You need 1,000 to keep the license plate operational, and they're now at over 2,000. And I am seeing it everywhere at this point. And so what it goes to is monitoring, astrotourism, outreach and education, and then also infrastructure improvements. So retrofitting lights to be more dark sky compliant. We're currently kind of going back and forth with Friends of Nevada Wilderness to see where the partnership is. Yeah.
would it be possible to have them maybe come in and do a report or present to?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure Pam would be very happy to. Pam Dupree.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Amy Berry, for the record, I just want to say, great job.
Yeah.
I mean, the website is beautiful. I mean, there's a lot of private orgs that would love to have a website that coordinates. Great job. And the poster is super fun. Do you have any sense for like how big is that event supposed to be? How many people are you expecting?
Yeah, so we talked to the rangers out at Lahontan trying to see like what the normal visitation rate is. So in April, it's somewhere around 250 folks. So far, like on Instagram, the reel that was posted promoting the event has over 4,000 views. And a big part of this is also to kind of rewrite Lahontan's history. So it's a bit of a party spot. So Bob's going, yeah, it's way more than that. It's a very party dominant state park. And so we want to really highlight the recreation resources that are available because it does offer incredible boating opportunities. The beach access out there is just amazing. And so we're just very excited to try and bring people out to Lahontan that isn't focused on one thing.
Rebranding effort.
Rebranding effort of Lahontan.
It just seems like a perfect example of what Endor was created to do. You know, it's that marrying of economic development and outdoor recreation and something that's truly unique to Nevada and the dark skies. Great job, you guys.
Any other questions? Yeah, I have one about the dark skies. So that's, I mean, if you look at a map of the United States, Nevada is like the center of dark skies. So, and it's really big for Europeans. They like to come out here and do this dark sky activity. So it's big for tourism. So, who can apply for certification? And what are some examples of what they need to go through to become certified?
Oh, that's a good question. So the list goes to schools. So let's take, for example, if a school wanted to apply for the certification, they would have to go through a process of identifying all the lights that they had, right, within the school zone. And then they would have to create like essentially a lighting management plan. And then also look at zones for lighting. So figuring out which lights are necessary all of the time and which ones can you turn off. And a big part of it is just reducing the overall lighting of a location, right? So figuring out like how many lights you have and then retrofitting them with dark sky compliant lighting, which I think a lot of people assume is very challenging to get and very expensive, but it's actually not. You can go to Lowe's and get dark sky compliant lighting because it's only 3,000 kelvins or lower that you're looking for. And I don't want to like get you guys all glossy-eyed talking about lighting specs. But yes, so you would create a lighting plan and then you would submit it and then we would give you a certain timeline to actually implement it. And then once it's fully implemented, we would give you a certification.
And then what? Once they have the certification, then what happens?
Then they just submit a yearly report after that, just making sure they're still within compliance.
So how are they? So they're advertised as a certified dark sky.
Certified dark sky.
How are they? Are we advertising that, or Travel Nevada, or they're doing that themselves, or?
They can do that themselves, but we would also like put it on our website or promote it as well.
Okay, and who can? So it's school districts, cities,
municipalities, unincorporated communities, HOAs, parks and open spaces, and businesses. So the downtown business corridor is like where I'm also like highly interested in. And it doesn't have to be consecutive businesses right next to each other. It can be a grouping of 10 businesses who say, we would like to just retrofit our lights and turn down lights within our community. And then they would get certified and they would just need like a little plaque or like a little flyer at their like checkout stand saying like, we are Nevada Starry Sky certified.
Okay.
And it would just also be able to promote like through the tourism as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, great.
Yeah.
Denise Baronio, for the record, I think also just clarify that we can certify an area to be a designation.
Yes.
In like Tonopah, or like the people can go actually do astrotourism.
Never heard that term. Amy Berry, for the record.
Astrotourism?
Word for me today.
I'm sure Raphael can talk your ear off about it.
That's great.
Yeah, we've been pushing it through the Nevada Commission on Tourism, do a little bit more astrotourism.
Yeah.
In the state. Okay, any other questions? All right, who are you handing it off to?
I will hand it off to Katie. Are you giving the update for OHV? Okay.
Well, hello, everyone. As Elizabeth mentioned, my name is Katie Barmore. I'm the new OHV program manager. Behind me is Katie Honeycutt. She's the administrative analyst for the OHV program. She's kind of handling the more admin finance side of things. I actually worked for the OHV program in 2021 as a lowly field tech, where I had the awesome opportunity to see this beautiful state, every corner of it side by side. So I'm very excited to be back and working with this community. And yeah, I've been on since August. It's been 7 months, and it has been a very busy 7 months. So the OHV program has two primary functions. It is to run the grant program with the Commission on Off-Highway Vehicles, where we award $1.5 million every year to off-road recreation projects. And then to also just be a voice advocating for safe and responsible OHV recreation throughout the state. We are currently in the review period of our second and final grant round for the fiscal year. For all of this fiscal year, we've had 29 applicants and have awarded so far 7 of them. But we're very excited about that. And with that, I'm working closely with the applicants, with the commission, to really try and modernize this process. Really try to streamline things, create more efficiency, and to help bring the program up to grant best practices and kind of modern standards. So that's a lot of my update for this last 7 months has been just kind of getting the lights turned on and getting everything rolling. With that, it's also been a lot of organizing. The physical move of the division office has provided a unique opportunity, I'm calling it, to go through every physical and digital record that the program has, get it organized so that we have a accessible archive that we actually know what documents we have. And that's been going very well. And then also, I'm working on a complete rebrand of the program. So we do have our own updates separate from indoors, although I will say that as of right now, it is not nearly as nice as indoors. But that's changing. So I've updated the logo. We just had our kickoff meeting for a website update, rebrand and update yesterday. And we're really trying to create a resource where when people come to Nevada and want to off-road recreate, I want them to go to the program first. I want to be your one-stop shop for where do I ride? How do I ride? What is registration? What's the grant program? What are the rules? Like, I want to be that resource. And so we're really pushing that message with our website, with our social media. It's been a little slow going getting up and running, but we are getting up and running. And with that, it's a lot of outreach and education. We have been at conferences, we've been at races. We're really just trying to shotgun this message that the program exists, registration is important, and this grant program is a really cool opportunity for building a specific type of recreation in the state that really the state is set up for that recreation. So any contacts, events, ideas, once the website kind of gets up and running again, if there's something that you think would be great on there, I am all ears. I am open to any kind of feedback or any kind of collaboration, because a lot of people don't know that this resource exists, and I would really like to change that. Are there any questions?
Any questions? Deborah?
Strickland here, Nye County Commissioner. Exciting stuff. An announcement due to the OHV grant. We are having our soft opening on Saturday of the track that's been built by volunteers and with the OHV dollars that we received through granting of our kiddie track at the 40 acres that we've set aside at the fairgrounds. So they're doing the ribbon cutting, they're doing the soft opening, and it'll be the kiddie track that we are doing now that they'll be riding on. And at that grand opening, there will be bin inspections available for those that come that are not registered. So we can do that portion of that, and they'll be able to actually sign up to have their vehicle registered with the OHV Commission right there and then. And so we're going to be working with the kids on safety, rules of the road, how to be a good citizen while out using your OHV. And it's our first time ever. And we're so happy to have those funds here in the town of Pahrump. Thank you.
That's awesome. And I love to hear that. Both sides of that too, because the registration is important. And as has been mentioned, it can be kind of a difficult process because it does require a VIN inspection and then to mail the forms into the DMV and then to get your stickers. And as Elizabeth also mentioned, we're kind of tackling a larger information project to address that. So the fact that you're going to have on-site VIN inspections and registration available is awesome. And that's the dream. And then also the OHV education side of things is another huge part of the grant program. And it's also a huge part of the program that we're really trying to expand. We are also where we're partnering with Renown and Nevada Outdoor School and the BLM to help with a free helmet drive out at Sand Mountain for Easter weekend. And education is really something that we want to build into this community. And there's some great resources out there, and I want to get these resources connected and talking. So thank you for all your work down there.
Any other questions, comments, advice? Okay. Who's next?
All right, I think I'm next. I'm a stander like Chelsea. Kendall Scott for the record. I'm the outdoor education lead. And like everyone, I've been busy with lots and lots of different things, but I'm going to focus on kind of two big projects that I've been working on. The first being the Outdoor Education Advisory Working Group, which Denise touched on a little bit. This was a legislative interim group that in 2023, AB 164 tasked us with coordinating. So that group consisted of different state agencies, some teachers, school superintendents, some legislators, and we studied ways to better integrate outdoor education and recreation into our school systems. We also applied for a national program through the Children of Nature Network called Nature Everywhere, and we're the first state ever selected for that program, which was really, really awesome. And so we've been receiving technical assistance from them. We still are for the remainder of this year. We also got some seed grant funding, which allowed this advisory working group to do some public input. So we did a survey that reached over 700 people. We also did some focus groups with students, with teachers, with future outdoor education specialists up at UNR Lake Tahoe. And we had over 50 participants in those focus groups. And then, the advisory working group, or AWG, kind of took all of that public input and made this report. The report centers around 4 different kind of focus areas, which include content integration, capacity building, outdoor learning infrastructure, and policy. And then there was also an AB 164 provision for the group to propose a bill during this current legislative session. That bill Denise mentioned is AB 165. Our chair, Assemblymember Mosca, is responsible for that over the legislature right now. That bill essentially, like Denise says, kind of creates a sustained version of this AWG group that is a little bit more condensed and focused. And then kind of gives them some tasks, including creating an outdoor school designation, which is similar to something the Department of Education does with like STEM schools. So you can, this specific rubric where you can achieve different levels of being a STEM school. We also want to recognize educators who are going above and beyond in terms of outdoor education with an Outdoor Educator of the Year award. So that's all in AB 165. Which it has progressed a little bit. I think there's a work session happening for that in the Natural Resources Committee in the Assembly on Monday. So yeah, we're really, really proud of this report. This went to the legislature and was publicized in December. We had, again, bicameral, bipartisan legislators in the group, and the bill and the report was really a unanimous decision from that group. So kind kind of wrapped up this group, and now the bill is in process is where that is at. And then my second big project is, of course, the Nevada Outdoor Education and Recreation Grant Awards, which you all are highly involved in as well as the Technical Advisory Committee. Or for those who are new, guess what? You're on the Technical Advisory Committee for the NOAA grant, which is a big undertaking come fall, just FYI, warning. This was our second call for applications, which we did in the fall. And we reviewed all those applications with you all. And you have in your packet a little summary of all of the awards that were handed out. So that includes all the tier 2 projects that you all recommended for funding. Those were all funded, as well as some micro grants. So anything under $7,500 or less, the division reviews internally. So there's also some projects there. We got a lot of really, really cool things happening. Our first project actually just wrapped up last week, which was an urban beekeeping project in Las Vegas, which is really awesome. So you can read that summary here. We have in total 21 new projects for the 2025 grant round. We also have a few that we have extended from 2024 that are going to wrap up in June. Let's see. I have also been working with Chelsea and Caden, who you heard also manage some grant programs. We're collaborating on trying to improve our grant processes overall across all 3 programs through standardizing forms and providing some additional training to grantees, establishing metrics. And metrics brings me to the last fun, colorful piece of paper in your stack, the 2024 NOAA Grant Impact report. So this details, the overwhelming amount of applications we got in that first round. Talks a little bit about the projects that we were able to fund. And I want to point you specifically to this third box where it says in 2024, these projects collectively reached over nearly 11,000 participants, which is far and away above our estimated goal of about 4,000 students with that 250,000. So we reached almost 11,000 participants, and this funding allowed youth to spend nearly 26,000 hours outside, and we also supported 57 jobs. So thank you to ABOR, to the TAC for helping us to realize those grants and those awards. Speaking of NOAA, I did want to just take the end of my time here to check in with you all as the TAC, for those who were able to participate in the fall and in this past round. We worked to change NAC and hopefully reduce the burden of serving on this TAC a little bit for you all. You had a couple fewer presentations or applications to review. May not have felt like any less, but hopefully it helped a little bit. So I just wanted to get any feedback, any comments from that experience this round. Was there anything that you felt went better this round, or any comments on things you'd like to see potentially change or improve for next time if we have funding? Anything along those lines. So I just wanted to start by opening it up with any comments online or in the room on the process. It was perfect. Yeah, that's very perfection. All right, Deborah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Strickland here. I just wanted to it was my first time. I've never done a grading program like that, and I found you made it very easy for us. It was not convoluted. It was not a hot mess, and you can imagine it could have been. So I appreciate all the hard work that you did on that project. Thank you.
Great, thank you. That was the goal.
Yeah, if you don't want to bring it up here, always contact you anytime and
absolutely.
Get some feedback, sure.
Yeah, I did want to ask specifically, there were a couple of changes that we made to scoring that potentially maybe you didn't even notice, but I just want to open up opportunity for comment on these specifically. The first was that the program impacts. In the first year, we asked participants to speak to all 9 program impacts. This year, we changed that and asked them to select 5 and just speak to their 5 that they were going to be focusing on. And I was curious if there was if you saw like improved program impacts, or if you felt that that made any sort of difference.
Miguel, for the record, I liked that much better because they had to pick certain ones before. And I think it made the scoring more fair, because before, if it wasn't going to touch on one of the subjects, then you ended up kind of losing points for that. Where if somebody else figured out a way to tie theirs to every one of those, it kind of gave them, an advantage. And some of them just clearly don't hit a certain thing. So I like that part of it much better.
Awesome.
If I had one, the only part that gave me, I guess, was a struggle for me to score was, and I'm not going to remember exactly how it's phrased, but I think it had to do with the number of kids that are
The percentage of underrepresented students. Yeah, that was my next question. So
Yeah,
yes,
so
please go.
that's the one that jammed me up. If
Okay.
anything, I'm super smart, so most of it. That one was like the only
Okay.
part that I was like, I'm not sure how to do that.
Yeah, so for reference, what Bob is referring to is the other piece I wanted to ask you all about, because that was another change you made. So in the first round, I included that as an objective measure, right, which I do ahead of time for you. So there's 2 percentages in the audience category. There's percentage of students that qualify for free and reduced lunch, and the percentage of students who may face barriers to outdoor access, right? And there's a kind of a narrative box where we ask people to elaborate on what that means for their audience. And so there were some questions in the first round about like what qualified. So I opened it up to you all to like kind of read that narrative and decide, and asked you, just to look at the narrative, and if it fit what, if you thought they proved that there were some barriers that they were addressing, to then use the direct percentage to points. But otherwise, or dock a point or 2. I did see like a lot of kind of variation there, which is why I wanted to ask about it. If the instructions were unclear, or if there were projects that you felt like, no, they're not really proving that they're, not that they're facing these barriers, or they're not like providing sufficient evidence for that. And also, feedback on whether you would like to maybe do that again in the future, or leave that as an objective score that I can do ahead of time and look at those barriers and do the percentage for you. So open any comments and discussion on that.
Yeah, Amy Barry, for the record, I really liked when you did it for us.
Okay.
Miguel, for the record, I would second that.
Okay. We can make an objective measure. Okay.
That was a hard one for me as well.
Great.
Also, I didn't follow the instructions at first, and I was like, why didn't these people fill out all the boxes? Wait, man, they only have to do 5 on them.
Anything online? Okay. Awesome. Well, that's all I had. Thanks, everybody. And thank you again for your tax service. You people look forward to the fall.
Is that it? Yeah. That agenda item? All right, we'll now go on to agenda item 8, a presentation. I'll turn it over to Denise.
Sure. A presentation from Greg and Lindsay at Carson City Parks, Recreation and Open Space. They're going to speak about the city's strategic plan for open space and outdoor recreation with a focus on conservation and stewardship during the planning process. I gave them lots of time for this because it's such a cool project. I wanted to make sure that they, were able to elaborate on all the things that they're doing that are so great for Carson. Take it away.
All right. Well, thank you, Denise. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Lindsay Boyer. I'm the Open Space Manager for Carson City Park, Recreation, and Open Space. And I'm joined here today by Greg Bergeron, our Trails Coordinator for Carson City. We are very excited to talk to you today about quality of life and recreation planning in Carson City. So just diving into a little bit of background information about our department, I wanted to start with our mission and vision. So as you can see, our mission in Parks, Recreation, and Open Space is to provide exceptional parks, open space, and diverse recreational opportunities to enhance the quality of life in Carson City while also preserving our natural resources for future generations, like these kids getting sworn in here. So I bring that up because we're going to be talking a lot about quality of life today, both in terms of policy and outcomes in Carson City. So I wanted to demonstrate how that's really baked right into our mission. And then with our vision statement, you can see that we are looking to provide essential recreation opportunities for the community, people of all ages and abilities, and that really is the foundation of the work that we do. So starting out with quite a long history of strategic planning for outdoor recreation in Carson City, I wanted to start all the way back in the early 90s with planning for the Carson River Corridor. So at that time, the Carson River Corridor, much of it was under private or federal ownership. And so the Board of Supervisors at that time had identified the need for really starting to plan for the vision of the Carson River Corridor and creating more public access to the Carson River. So they passed a resolution at that time, basically kicking off that planning effort. Then in 1995, we completed the Eagle Valley Trail Plan. This basically provided an early framework for trail development in Carson City. Then 1996 was a big year for us. It's when we passed the Question 18 Quality of Life Initiative, which I will tell you more about here shortly, as well as completing the original Carson River Master Plan, which was actually written by the Carson River Advisory Committee, which was a volunteer citizen steering committee for the river at that time. Then in 2000, another big year for us, we completed the Open Space Master Plan. So this basically provided the original foundation and framework for the open space program as we know it today. And it really included identifying priority areas for land acquisition in Carson City. And then in 2000, we also completed our very first open space acquisition. This is the Moffett Open Space. It's here in Carson, just off of Fairview Drive. And this was actually donated to Carson City, which is one way that we've acquired some of our properties. In 2006, trail planning continued in Carson City with the completion of the Unified Pathways Master Plan, or UPMP. So this document was really a roadmap for trail development in Carson City. It included plans for connectivity throughout the city in terms of sidewalks, bike paths, and multi-use pathways. In 2008, community members and partners came together to complete the Silver Saddle Charrette. This was the initial vision and planning for the Silver Saddle Ranch property, which at that time was still under BLM ownership. 2009 was very big for us. So that was the year that we completed the Omnibus Public Lands Management Act, or OPLMA. This authorized over 5,000 acres of land that came to Carson City from the federal government, so the BLM and the Forest Service. This included Silver Saddle Ranch, Prison Hill, and portions of the river corridor, as well as other lands throughout Carson. And we officially took over management of those lands in 2015. In 2017, the Eagle Valley Trail Committee report was completed. This included a comprehensive review of trails throughout Carson City, especially focusing on single track trail opportunities as well as what was existing. And this was a grassroots citizens-led effort. The city had very little involvement of actually putting the plan together. So this just shows how important and dedicated the community is to outdoor recreation and trails in Carson City. And then in 2018, the UPMP was updated to include all of that information that was in the Eagle Valley Trail Committee report. And it specifically added those single track trails into our UPMP, which basically codified all of those trail opportunities into one Carson City strategic planning document. And then lastly, not quite lastly, in 2023, we completed the Prison Hill Master Plan. So this was strategic planning for the Prison Hill area specifically, including trails. And then lastly, we've currently been working on updating the Carson River Master Plan. So originally written in 1996, we basically completed all the goals and objectives and land acquisitions that we sought to complete. So we've been working with the National Park Service, RTCA program as well to do that update, and we hope to complete that in 2026. So I share all this planning history with you just to show really the commitment and dedication that Carson City has had to strategic planning for outdoor recreation in the last 30 years. So the open space program is wholly funded by the Quality of Life or Question 18 initiative. So this was a ballot measure passed in 1996 by the residents of Carson City at that time. They chose to tax themselves by increasing sales tax by 1/4%. So essentially those proceeds would go towards parks, trails, and open space preservation and management throughout Carson City. This is a dedicated funding source with no sunset date, which is amazing. So we are going to be receiving this funding in perpetuity, which is somewhat unusual for a funding source like this. So the open space program specifically receives 40% of this funding annually. The remaining is allocated to the park side of our department. So this tax initiative is completely unique. We're the only of its kind in the state of Nevada. We always love celebrating this amazing accomplishment. I know that neighboring counties have tried to pass something similar in the past, and unfortunately it just hasn't gone through. So I really applaud the foresight of Carson City residents at the time, for choosing to tax themselves. It has literally changed the fabric of Carson City, both in terms of land use, but as well as quality of life for visitors and residents. So how is open?
So what's the, how much money have you been bringing in?
I will get there
Oh,
shortly.
okay.
Got some figures for you.
And this is strictly for Carson City,
Correct.
not the county part, just strictly the city.
Well, we're a consolidated municipality, but it goes towards our department specifically. So Carson City Parks, Recreation, and Open Space.
So it includes the county?
Well, we're a city and a county, but it's for our department specifically.
Okay, so
which
it's
is under the
Carson
city
City County.
umbrella.
Carson City County, okay. All right.
So how
I
is?
get that mixed up.
Yeah, I get it.
Oh, but it's the whole county. Okay.
So how is open space defined in Carson City? Essentially, we define it as undeveloped land having significant natural resources important for the quality of life of our community. When the open space program was developed, they also developed a municipal code. So chapter 1306 of the Carson City Municipal Code was created to specifically codify open space in the codes, what open space is, what it isn't, how the funding is meant to be used. It also established the Open Space Advisory Committee, which oversees the work that we do. But essentially the funding that we get from the Question 18 Quality of Life Initiative, it supports our staff salaries, maintenance and management costs, equipment, project supplies, vehicles, basically everything that we do comes from that funding source. And we have a very small but mighty team. So there's only 7 full-time staff and 1 part-time staff who take care of all of these lands, which is amazing. So facts and figures. So since 1996, we have brought in over $70 million in tax and interest revenue. And again, we only receive 40% of that, but that is an astronomical number. And we are just so proud of that. And then we really try to leverage grant funding as much as humanly possible so we can stretch those dollars even further. So since 1996, we brought in over $14 million in grant funding as well. This has gone towards trail projects, trailhead projects, land acquisitions, park improvements, all kinds of things. So it really is just mind-blowing to see these numbers from the last 30 years. And as you can see, there's a lot of other things that this funding source supports, like the Boys and Girls Club and many of our parks and recreation facilities as well. Next slide, please.
Try to get kicked out.
So since 1996, the open space program has been able to purchase and preserve over 7,000 acres. We're at about 7,400 right now of undeveloped natural areas throughout Carson City. About 2,000 of those were purchased directly using POAT funds, and then a lot of grant funds and other sources have factored in there as well. We also have about 1,000 acres of parks, recreation and playground type facilities. So with those two figures combined, that's more parks and open space per capita than the national average, which is just another reason that makes Carson City so special. So as I mentioned, we aim to preserve and protect critical open spaces that have important natural resources that are important for quality of life in the community. Our three main priority areas are the Carson River corridor. So we are aiming to protect critical cottonwood galleries as well as floodplain. The second is agricultural land. So aiming to maintain that history of ranching in Eagle Valley. And then lastly, hillsides and viewsheds, where many of our trail systems are located. So we've been able to purchase those 7,400 acres through a few different mechanisms. One is just straight fee title acquisition. We go out and purchase it, either using those Q18 funds or grants, or typically a combination of both. We've also received many donations. So I mentioned our first property was received through donation, but we've had quite a few since then as well. You know, folks want to preserve their legacy and see that those lands are protected in perpetuity. Another huge one that I mentioned during the history recap, the Omnibus Public Lands Management Act. So again, that brought over 5,000 acres from the Forest Service and the BLM to Carson City. And then lastly, conservation easements. So this is kind of a creative way that we've been able to protect lands. So essentially Carson City is purchasing the development rights from that property owner, but they remain under private ownership. So it's just another way that we've been able to protect lands in Carson City. We currently hold one, but we're also working on another, both in the Kings Canyon area. And I just love this picture. This is from when we purchased the Eagle View open space a few years ago. We had a big ribbon cutting, and then we created this cool sign that was out there for many years that said, "This area has been sold to the residents of Carson City." So here's just a graph that shows land acquisitions over time. You can see that the first 20 or so years of open space, there was a real boom for land acquisitions. Staff at that time were basically acquiring anything and everything that met our criteria and that was available. And then you can see that when that Oklahoma lands bill went through, that nearly doubled the amount of acreage that we manage. But really since 2015, things have more or less leveled off. We kind of shifted focus from acquisition to maintenance and management of those lands. Partially that's because we have almost acquired just about everything that was a priority in Carson City. But then also, you know, we really needed to shift gears to facility management and things like that out there. We always have acquisitions in the back of our mind. So as opportunities arise, we still evaluate those for their merit. For example, we just recently completed a very small acquisition along the river, totally undevelopable property. Most of it's underwater, so it made sense to just bring that into our role. And we are also currently working on a pretty large water rights acquisition project to support one of our historic ranching properties in Carson. So this map just shows you all of the open space properties to date that we've acquired here in Carson City. It's a lot of red on this map. We are proud of all of these open spaces, but I always love to highlight the entire east side of Carson City, where we have about 5,000 acres of continuous open space that we've been able to preserve and protect. This includes Prison Hill, Silver Saddle, and those historic ranching properties, as well as over 11 miles of Carson River corridor, which is just incredible. So why do we preserve open space lands? Why is this important? What benefits has this program and this tax initiative brought to Carson City? So one of the main reasons that we protect open space is to protect diverse ecosystems. I love this slide. These are all photos from all open spaces throughout Carson City. It's pretty amazing to just show the breadth of diversity that we have. Everything from desert landscapes on Prison Hill all the way to forested properties on the west side and everything in between with the river corridor. So it just really shows another reason why Carson City is so special to have this diversity of landscapes. Another major reason we protect open space is for flood damage prevention. So we all know that Carson City floods every so often. So I really wanted to highlight these two photos. The one on the left here is Buzzy's Ranch open space. This photo was taken in 2017 after one of our last major floods. As you can see, the river was very full. It was able to spread out and access the entire floodplain here at Buzzy's Ranch open space. And because we don't have really any infrastructure out there, the damage from that flood was fairly minimal. Those flood waters were able to spread out, sink in. The floodplain was able to do its job. As compared to the 1997 flood in Reno, that was a very infamous, crazy storm. But as you can see, they have developed pretty much the entire floodplain through Reno. And so a lot of damage occurred from that flood. I think it was estimated around $540 million back then, just in Washington County alone. So this is one major priority and something positive that Carson City has going for it that, we've really focused on protecting our floodplain. Another great reason that we protect open space is to preserve wildlife habitat. So again, these are all photos taken throughout open space. One interesting figure I recently learned is that in Nevada, there's only 3% of kind of riparian and aquatic areas, but 75% of our species depend on those areas. So again, protecting those critical cottonwood galleries through Carson has been a major priority. But it's amazing to see the breadth of diversity we have in terms of wildlife. And of course, we have the western pond turtle here, which is endemic to the Carson River, and that was taken in an open space as well.
What is this guy on the bottom right?
That is a horned lizard, sometimes called a horny toad, but it's a lizard, not a toad. Another great aspect of protecting open space is encouraging conservation and stewardship. So we have a senior natural resource specialist on staff, as well as a volunteer coordinator. They do all kinds of things throughout the department, but they work to create educational programs for students. They work with nonprofits like River Anglers to provide environmental education. We also do all kinds of volunteer projects, whether it be noxious weed removal or native planting with kids or trash cleanups. So between these kind of combined activities, we're really hoping to inspire, the next generation of stewards here in Carson City. And then, of course, another reason we protect open space is to protect and interpret our historic and cultural resources. So Carson City has many historic properties. One of them is Silver Saddle Ranch, a historic ranch property over on the river corridor. That property dates back to the early 1900s. And then we have Carson River Canyon, which was the site of many historic mills during the Comstock era. And you can still see remnants of that history today. So these are just two examples of historic areas that we've been able to protect. We love to interpret this history as much as possible. We're starting to put out a lot of educational signage, really just trying to connect people, with the past so we can preserve it going into the future. And then last, but certainly not least, open space provides opportunities for diverse recreation throughout Carson City. And so with that, I will turn it over to Greg.
Thanks, Lindsay. And thank you to Denise and board members for having us. We're really excited to be able to have this opportunity to talk about some of the great things that Carson City is doing. So I'd like to start with
Look at me,
a quick recap. The look.
Just make eye contact.
Just a quick recap of what our Carson City trail system. So within Carson City's boundaries, we have over 100 miles of trails, about 50 miles of single track, 17 miles of purpose-built double track, 27 miles of urban paved trails that connect residents or our neighborhoods with downtown corridor and actually open space. about 25 miles of motorized trails, and those are the ones that we manage, and that includes the Prison Hill OHB area, which has been supported by the OHB funding in part. And we also manage the Ash Canyon Road and a little bit of the Kings Canyon Road. But it doesn't mention, or I don't even mention the all the many miles of roads that we have on the federal lands. And then we also have a 14-mile aquatic trail that we share with Lyon County. And so why does Carson City build trails? Because Carson City recognizes that communities with trails are healthier in all ways, physically, emotionally, economically. For every dollar invested in trails, the American Heart Association says that we save $3 in medical bills. And as Lindsay mentioned, our planning efforts for this kind of stuff go back as far as 1995. And then in 2017, Carson City Harbor Trails Coordinator, and I'm still loving my job, so going. And then just following up on basically on what the Lieutenant Governor spoke to, trails foster emotional, spiritual, and social health. Spending time outdoors, it reduces stress, it lowers blood pressure, increases creativity, combats depression, promotes healing. There's evidence that children with ADD perform better in school after having spent time outdoors. And of course, trails promote outdoor activities. And so I really applaud the efforts with AB 53. I think that's, I hope that passes. That's what our kids need, is time outdoors for sure. And so trails break down barriers and connect people. Loneliness and trails are inversely related according to Psychology Today. And this is one of my favorite slides because this is, I talked about purpose-built double track trails. This is the Prison Hill Trail on the east side of Prison Hill. And you can see in this photo, or this one, there's a traditional mountain bike rider along with an adaptive mountain bike rider and a runner. And they're all sharing the trail at the same time. They can all do their own thing. And I spend some time on this trail as well. And what I love is just to see the diversity of sizes and shapes and abilities and colors and ages and everything out on that trail. And they're all sharing it. And I know the Lieutenant Governor spoke to cost of entry. And of course, trails are generally free. And all of our trails in Carson City are free. And also just to add on to Yasmina's update, our trail website has a link to the Nevada Trail Finder, so people can find even more trails. Trails, of course, contribute to a safer community. Off-street trails remove pedestrians and bicycles from dangerous vehicular traffic. And then kind of a new concept, trails as resilient infrastructure. And this is a concept that was included in our Prison Hill Master Plan in 2023. And there's a variety of ways that the trails can take on the role of mitigating some of the effects of climate change. For example, managing stormwater, creating fuel breaks and routes for both emergency access and for public evacuation, and providing transportation alternatives. When we were designing the Prison Hill Trail East, and also when we were designing the one that we're working on right now on the west side of Prison Hill, we listened to some of the nearby residents and some of their concerns related to stormwater runoff and things like that. And we tried to address some of those concerns through design. And our hope is that we are mitigating some of those issues. And I believe we have on the east side of Prison Hill. So, and then also, Carson City was included as a case study in two publications by the Federal Highway Administration. One was titled Trails as Resilient Infrastructure, and the other one is the role of trails in climate resilience and emergency response. And then, of course, trails promote economic vitality. We have a number of events throughout the year that utilize our trails and that bring in people from out of town and some from in town as well. The Prison Hill, Escape from Prison Hill run. In fact, Lindsay and I are both running in the 11K this year, and we'll be running in that the weekend after this one. But trails are the most desired community amenity that homeowners seek when buying a home, according to the National Homeowners Association. And I think we all know that if you have two homes or exactly the same kind of house and one of them is near trails or trailheads, it is worth more than the other home, and trails contribute to the value of a home. So, yeah, okay. Okay, and then lastly, our residents demand trails. And so right now, Carson City is going through an update to our master plan. And during listening sessions throughout the past year, residents told us that access to outdoor recreation, parks, trails, open space, and public lands was one of their 4 favorite things about Carson City. And they want more of it. And our draft master plan now, because of that, it now includes access to open space and recreational opportunities as a guiding principle, and also a connected community. So things like complete streets and trail connectivity are included in the master plan. And so this is what our residents want, and this is what we are trying to provide them. And since the 2006 creation of our Unified Pathways Master Plan has made a real difference in development in our community. So for example, when a developer proposes a development, we are able to place conditions on that development so that we don't lose connectivity to public lands, so that we maintain connectivity within our trail system. And in some cases, we even require that the developers create a trail through their, to connect to somewhere else. And usually developers are very cooperative because they recognize the return on value in that investment. So the last thing I'd like to spend some time talking about is,
Excuse me. So are you going to talk about the Adventure Center still in Carson City?
I actually wasn't, but we can talk about it.
Well, I mean, the Commission on Tourism is going to fund 2 adventure centers, one in Carson City, one in Boulder City. And it's geared toward outdoor recreation. So I guess my only comment is I hope you would put that in as part of your master plan to include the Adventure Center, because it's really, I mean, once we build it, it's really up to Carson City to make it successful. So if there's any way you can incorporate it to make it an important part of Carson City and outdoor recreation, I mean, I'm not telling you what to do. You're going to do what you want, but I think it would be, if it's not included, then it would be saying that it's not really important to Carson City. So keep that in mind.
Yeah. So our Culture and Tourism Authority is very supportive of that Adventure Center, and they will be intimately involved, as will Lindsay and I in our Parks and Rec department. So it will be an important component of promoting outdoor recreation in Carson City. Okay. For sure. Yeah.
Denise Baronio, for the record, in the strategic planning process that I attended a few weeks ago, that was on the list of things to consider to add to the plan.
Okay, good.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Looking forward to seeing it in the master plan.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so I wanted to talk about a case study and how trails directly benefit our community. And I always say that it takes a community to build trails, and trails build community. And the Capitol Tahoe Trail is a real example of how that worked. So the trail was completed in 2023 after an 8-year effort led by Muscle Powered. Muscle Powered is our local nonprofit trail advocacy group, and they are a wonderful organization. So funding for the trail came through a grant from the Recreational Trails Program with a match from the Quality of Life Initiative, along with volunteer support from Muscle Powered. And our local DMO, Visit Carson City, funded the NEPA studies and the cultural resource studies. And I should mention that we work very closely with Visit Carson City so that we make sure that they have the correct information when they're promoting our outdoor recreational assets, and that they don't over promote something so that it gets impacted and abused. And we've actually redirected them a couple of times so that we can spread the wealth throughout the community. And in turn, they help us like with printing maps, and in this case, support for the Capitol Tahoe Trail. So it's a great working relationship we have with our local DMO. Anyway, other partners on this project included the Nevada Division of State Parks, the U.S. Forest Service, a local or a private landowner, and then also the engineering for the bridge construction was donated, and some of the surveys for the Section 106 were also discounted. So a lot of community support for this project. So with this trail, Capital Tahoe Trail, this provides first single track connection from Carson City to the Tahoe Rim Trail, and by extension to the Pacific Crest Trail, and by extension to Canada and to Mexico. And so when we mentioned that to Visit Carson City, Lydia Beck of Visit Carson City had an idea. And so she launched the Carson City to Canada Quest, 1,600 miles, $5,000 to each of the first two people to leave the steps of the Capitol and hike all the way to Canada. The goal was to inspire people to get out on the trails. According to Lydia, the community was wildly excited, very low investment, huge returns, no paid advertising. And the next slide, please. So they posted this image on social media. It was on social media for like 5 months. Got over.
How many people did this?
They haven't done it yet. No, this Uber's getting there. So this is what's going to happen. So
You'll be the
so through this little ad on social media, they got all those impressions, over 200,000 impressions, over 3,000 clicks, 3,300 engagements, 2,800 people were directed to our website. Overall, it generated a high response from our target audience, which is the 25% of visitors who say they come to Carson City specifically to participate in outdoor recreation. I think it was like $1,200 is what it cost them based on the number of clicks. I was talking 38 cents per click or something. And so that was the cost for this. And from that, next slide, please. It generated more than 120 news stories, including KCRA Radio in Sacramento, the Los Angeles Times, San Francisco Chronicle, Outside, Backpacker, Yahoo, several international travel publications, and over 360 people applied for the opportunity to do this hike and get that $5,000. So we went through a big process, narrowed it down. I think we interviewed about 20 people, and what we were looking for were individuals that had somewhat of a social media presence, that they were social media savvy, but also had the skills and the abilities to undertake a hike of this magnitude. And so we found them. We've got 2 people. They both have to be women. They both have to be from Colorado. We had applicants from worldwide, but the 2 that were selected are U.S. residents. And so this spring, sometime this spring, they will be departing from the steps of the Capitol under a media blitz, and they will depart on their journey, and they will do social media posts all along the way. And I think that our benefit from this Capitol to the Carson City Canada Challenge is only really just beginning to realize the benefits of it. So bottom line is that open space and trails really add to our quality of life in Carson City. And I think that when you think about it's 40% of a 1/4% sales tax, it's nothing, but when used to leverage grant funding and donations and conveyances, that it has produced so much for us and done so much for us. Yeah, I love it. So with that, thank you very much, and we will take any questions that you may have.
Thank you.
Any questions?
I'll ask a question.
I have a question or comment. Jewel, for the record, I was one of those folks that clicked on the Quest to Canada. I don't know whether it was the fact I couldn't get the time off from the hospital or I have no social media presence, but I did not apply. But I appreciate the effort. I think it was a great campaign that you guys did, and I look forward to seeing the results this spring.
Okay, thank you.
Great.
Shava Gagor, Forest Service for the record. Out of curiosity, have you shared this presentation with your neighboring jurisdictions? I'm going to take my one hat off and put the other one on. I'm a Douglas County resident. I'm very sad to see that fail multiple years back. So just curious, like, I think there's connectivity there too that would be beneficial. So have they seen this and seen positives?
So I will say, I don't think they haven't seen this presentation, and I don't know what our involvement may have been when they had that for a vote. But I will mention that Douglas County does have a trails plan now, and we were a partner in that, and so connectivity was considered and included in that plan. But I think if there were another effort to do an initiative like this, Lindsay, that will come.
Yeah, I mean, we've never given this presentation to our neighboring counties. We would be happy to. I know that the previous open space manager, Juan Guzman, he's a big player in Douglas County, and I know he was a big part of trying to get that passed. And so there was some continuity there of him being familiar, with Carson City and how that's worked. But we're happy to spread the knowledge to whomever, because it's great.
So what are you talking about? What passed or failed? What is that?
So Denise, you may
Denise Baronia for the record. Yeah, there's been 2 initiatives that I can recall since I've lived there in the last 33 years in Douglas County, where they proposed either a property tax or gas tax that was very nominal to support outdoor recreation and open space, and failed miserably both times. I think we've been a bad messenger in trying to explain the purpose and benefit of that. So hopefully, you were thinking the exact same thing I was, because I live in Douglas County too. So it would be great for you to share your presentation with recreation folks in other counties so that we can progress the connectivity, but also then try and just expand the preservation piece of it, which I think you guys have done an amazing job at.
Agree, the figures are impressive on what you brought in and what you've been able to do with it. So appreciate your presentation. Thank you.
Any other questions? So the sales tax, is that on anything sold in Carson City?
Yes.
Anything?
Yeah. So
Okay.
everyone buy your cars in Carson.
Not gas. It's just
If you buy
I'm not sure if it sells tax on gas, but
yeah, it's a fuel tax.
there's no
On food.
No sales tax on food, but yeah, anything. I mean, just anything else
that has a sales tax attached to it.
Yeah. And I don't think that 0.25%. I don't think that people even notice that. And of course, a lot of people from out of town are contributing to it.
Right.
Yeah. Amy Barry, for the record, that actually brings up a question. It would be great to see a chart of the revenue over the years. So is it, I'm imagining that it goes like this as you start to see all the commercial development that came into town and Costco and things like that.
Well, I think during the recession, there was a dip too. So it's probably been kind of
it'd be interesting to see.
kind of a roller coaster, just to some degree.
Makes me feel better about shopping at Costco, from top.
All right. Any other questions? Yes.
Just a quick observation, and Mauricia Baca for the record. I think adding on to the point that Sheva made, I do think other jurisdictions could really benefit from this presentation. Down south, there's a group called the Regional Open Space and Trails Work Group that come together to talk about open space and trails planning. And it's just everybody should have as many tools in the toolbox available as possible and having diverse funding sources. And so it's really great to see the work that you've been doing. Thank you.
Well, thanks for the presentations. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having us. Yeah, we really appreciate it.
Very helpful.
Now you know why I gave them so much.
Yeah. Okay, agenda item 9, presentation. Denise.
Our next presenter is the DCNR's very own Brandon Bishop, who is the program manager for Conserve Nevada. For that program, we'll give an overview of conservation and recreation bonds in Nevada. This will include a brief historic overview of what has been done, statewide impact of this funding source, historic projects, active projects, Conserve Nevada funding opportunities moving forward and the grant round for 2024, et cetera, et cetera. Hi, Brandon.
Cool. Howdy, everyone. I'm Brandon Bishop. I'm the program manager for the Conserve Nevada program. So as many of you know, conservation funding within the state of Nevada is very perennial, goes up and down, goes up and down. A lot of our parks and recreation organizations were sitting at all-time highs for funding pre-2008. A lot of those crashed right around 2008 and never rebounded, save the presentation you just heard from Carson City, who has done a pretty solid job on recreation. But Conserve Nevada has been a funding conduit for recreation and conservation within Nevada since about the 1950s was the first iteration. So Conserve Nevada is the Nevada Conservation and Recreation Fund. This is like the fourth iteration of the general obligation bond program that supports recreation and conservation around the state. The first ones came out right around early 50s. They were largely funding for some of our first wildlife management areas and state parks. And then into the 1960s, right around 1965, when a lot of our major environmental legislation was moving through on the national level. In 2002, Q1 was authorized, which was the biggest bond program within the state's history. That bond program did amazing, incredible things across the state, and Conserve Nevada is the reiteration of that. In 2019, the Nevada legislature authorized $217.5 million in bond sales to support recreation and conservation across the state. So how is that broken down? So there are grant programs, and then there are legislative carve-outs within the legislation. $30 million is allocated to the Nevada Division of State Parks. So they're doing all sorts of cool projects around our state parks. Some of them you may have heard of, like the Valley of Fire Visitor Center construction. This is a huge funding source on that. The $30 million is allocated to the Nevada Department of Wildlife. They are also doing some pretty amazing things. They've done some very large acquisitions and conservation easements around the state that continue to preserve access to both our federal lands and to our wildlife management areas, our hunting and fishing areas. Just great work that's being done, and $30 million to the Nevada Division of Museums and Histories. And what this is going to support largely is the Boulder City Railroad Museum Visitor Center construction down in Boulder City. So that's a significant project. And then we have $30 million for the Las Vegas Springs Preserve. So the Las Vegas Springs Preserve, as this body went there and had a meeting there, they are looking at a major renovation of their Origin Museum down in Clark County. And that will have significant education elements for STEM education within Clark County, but they have tons and tons of visitations of K through 12 on a regular basis. So those are some of our major ones. And then if you go to the next slide, then we have $10 million for the Clark County Wetlands Park. So throughout the Clark County Wetlands Park's history, the question programs or the conservation bond programs have been a significant supporter of that entity. And a lot of that park's development came out of both SNFLMA and then the Clark County Wetlands Park funding. And then $10 million for the Vegas Valley Rim Trail. The Vegas Valley Rim Trail is a 100-mile regional trail around Las Vegas. And what's cool about this trail is it interconnects a grid pattern of trails across Las Vegas, which largely follow the flood channels, I guess are the best way to put it. And so it provides this great loop for people to go around the whole community. So this is great for recreation. It's also great for alternative transportation and getting down like our bicycle and pedestrian fatalities down south. And then we have $5 million for the Nevada Division of State Lands. This is for public-private partnerships to restore historic buildings around the state. And the biggest portion of that went to $2 million to the restoration of the Caliani Depot out in Caliani. If you've been out there, this picture right on there is a picture of the depot being restored on the exterior. And I'm hopeful that in future iterations, we'll be able to move into the inside because it's a really, really cool building. But if you go to the next slide, our next caveat within Conserve Nevada is our competitive grant programs. So we have $5 million for the Lake Tahoe Path System through the Q1 program. How many of you have walked on the East Shore Trail just outside of Incline? So the East Shore Trail took a lot of partners, a lot of congressional action, a lot of donations, a lot of people's time, probably 20 plus years of work to get the East Shore Trail done. This is some of the funding at the state level for the next iteration of that. We just funded $2 million for the Thunderbird Large to Secret Cove portion of essentially the East Shore Trail. And there are transportation mobility issues being addressed in there too. The Forest Service is funding some parking in there, and some other partners are funding parking. But this will be a significant project, but we'll have another $5 million that hasn't even been tapped yet to continue the East Shore Trail. And then the Carson Truckee River corridors, we have $10 million in funding available over the next basically 10 years for those entities. And if you go to the next slide, and then we have our big grant category. So it's $57.5 million for grants across the state of Nevada. So this can be for outdoor recreation, government property acquisition, so open space, parks rec, all sorts of things, sagebrush ecosystem credits. When we put in large projects for mining or energy, they have to get credits for sagebrush ecosystems. This helps to stimulate that sagebrush ecosystems credit, basically economy. It's kind of similar to a rec system if you're familiar with that. Wildfire mitigation and restoration projects, and then wetlands projects, and then nonprofit acquisitions. This funding is largely used to help leverage federal and local dollars. Typically for every dollar of Conserve Nevada money that goes out the door, $10 come back in matching it. And that's before we have any economic impact too. So if you go to the next slide. So Conserve Nevada has created over 100 miles of trail. Within the last couple of years, we've conserved over 58,000 acres of land. And there's tons and tons of things continuing to go. But you can see a cool video or go to a map that shows you all of these projects. But if you go to the next slide, these are some of the projects that are ongoing with Conserve Nevada's grant funding right now. We have the Mononeva paintbrush acquisition that's protecting critically endangered species out in Ely. We have the Washoe County Canapa Ranch. This is providing access to a ton of federal land, kind of on the southwest corner of Reno. We have the Carson Valley Conservation District Genoa Phase 4. This is addressing some floodplain issues and stabilization of the Carson River right around Genoa. We have the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation South Shell Acquisition. This is preserving over 1,720 acres out in the South Shells. We have the Nevada Land Trust Eastern Nevada project. This one is leveraging significant federal dollars for some targeted acquisitions right on our Sierra front for wildfire mitigation and also to preserve some of our forest lands. And then the Henderson Bird Viewing Park. This is actually a really highly used bird viewing park down in Henderson, but this will help do some repaving and some maintenance around the park. And if you go to the next slide, these are additional. We have Storm OV down in Beatty. They're developing a really amazing trail network down there. We have the Douglas County Fairgrounds. They're kind of doing a whole reimagining of the Douglas County Fairgrounds, including how can they connect the Douglas County Fairgrounds in with outdoor recreation around the fairgrounds. We have the National Forest Foundation. They're doing great work. The Tahoe Meadows gets tons and tons of visitations a year. If you've been up there, you see how chaos inspiring it is. But these boardwalks are older than I am in some regards, and they need a little work. And they're going through and doing great work just restoring the boardwalks, making them accessible to everyone while protecting kind of that riparian environment. And then we have the Southern Nevada Mountain Bike Association Red Rock Trail Development. They are basically incorporating 100+ miles of social trail that has gone awry all over Red Rocks. And they're making these official by going through all of the official NEPA and Section 106 reviews that you have to do to be able to do this. And then they're being all like, what trails do we need to kind of retire? What trails should be adopted into the formal system? So that will be a great thing for people to have maintained, good recreated, and protect our cultural and natural resources, as well as endangered species down there. And then we go to the Mason Valley Tamarisk. Tamarisk is a wonderful, horrible issue around the whole state. Pretty tree, but not great for wetlands or water or any of our habitats. But Tamarisk, they're going through and pulling it out. Tahoe East Shore Trail, that $2 million that we just funded to kind of help with that, it's about an $8.5 million funding blend altogether with partners. And then that's in a greater like $24 million funding blend for that segment. And then the Steamboat Buckwheat acquisition. This is for acquisition of Steamboat Buckwheat property just north of us. And this is an endangered species, which has a lot of potential for conflict. But we also want to preserve the species as best we can while allowing appropriate development. And then really big projects, Valley of Fire Visitor Center down south, over 1 million visitors. Probably there. Technically, our visitation numbers are slightly lower than that, but I think if we had really solid visitation numbers, they're probably above 1 million. Boulder City Railroad Museum and the Springs Preserve. These are really significant projects moving forward into the next biennium. All in all, the recommended budget makes historic investment in Nevada's $8.1 billion outdoor recreation economy by investing. The governor recommended $63.4 million for investment in conservation and recreation projects from the state. This will be one of the largest investments that has been made in a very, very long time, probably 30 years about. But if that goes through the legislature, which it's up for discussion on Monday, at 8 a.m. Anyone is available or wants to call or anything like that, I am not lobbying. Go ahead and do that. And we'll go on to the next. But the breakdown of that would be $25.4 million for the renovation of the Springs Origin Museum, $20 million for the Conserve Nevada competitive grants. I'm really, really excited for this. There's over 120 million in need out there for communities around the state for parks and recreation, for open space, for trails. And when you talk to some of the companies moving in, like they would love to have additional trail access for Trick, for example, so you can continue to develop like the Tahoe Pyramid Trail within that vicinity, which would hopefully alleviate some of the recreation. But you can do all sorts of things like that with the grant funds. We also have a dire need for conservation easements and land acquisitions that have kind of just been sitting there for a long time. And a lot of these entities are trying to get across the finish line. And then $2 million for the Lake Tahoe East Shore Trail, $1 million for the planning for the Vegas Valley Rim Trail, $2 million for Clark County Wetlands Park. They're currently building the Wetlands Loop Trail, which goes all the way around the Wetlands Park. And if you've ever had the opportunity to go to Clark County Wetlands Park, go there in the morning, just sit down and see how many people in that community go out there. You'll see kids, you'll see older folks, you'll see families. Really going out and enjoying recreation, especially when it's ridiculously hot. You have shade, you have wetlands, you have this wonderful thing down there. And then we have $5 million for Department of Wildlife. Department of Wildlife does amazing things with their dollars on helping wildlife around the state. And they really, really leverage this to the nth degree. You can ask Alan all about that. Same thing with Division of State Parks. They have $5 million allocated for this next biennium, and they've done incredible projects to just make our state parks world-class, and they continue to do that. And you can talk to somebody at this meeting if you want to know more about those. And then $3 million for Division of Museums and History. They are small but mighty, but make just amazing museums across our state and protect Nevada's history and culture. But that's an overview going into, so Monday. This is a quote from our director. This is a lovely picture from one of the sites that Q1 helped fund, which another individual in this meeting may be able to tell you a little bit about, which was the Nature Conservancy. But there you go. That is an overview of the Conserve Nevada program. This is also one of the projects that we funded, the Ice Age Fossil State Park. But I'm available for questions.
Anybody online? Amazing, Brandon. Thank you so much. Oh, you had a question?
I just want to make a comment and just how much I appreciate this presentation was such an incredible presentation. Mauricio Baca for the record. And to see that type of historic investment in the outdoor resources, our state agencies are doing such good work for our outdoors, and to have that type of investment is incredibly important. It's so exciting to see those funds coming from that initiative. And I can't wait to in a couple of years from now, see the reports about all the great work from this tranche of funding. So thank you so much.
Yeah, Amy Berry, for the record, ditto everything she just said. Thank you so much. All right, we lost our chair. We are on number 10, a call for agenda items and date for next meeting.
Denise Baronio, for the record, I guess I only had a conversation with the Lieutenant Governor last week about the opportunities that may be available for the next couple of meetings. We did already set the October meeting, which I forgot to write down, I think is October 10th. I'll send a save the date, is going to be in Boulder City, and it's going to highlight the lighting project that they're doing down there, and the Railroad Museum, and all the great things that Jill Lagan is doing down there with the Chamber of Commerce. So that's going to be our October meeting. We'll be there. And then June, we were looking at trying to go to the Reno Rodeo again. And the Lieutenant Governor is going to find out if we can do a Wednesday. I think it's the 25th. I'll again get dates for you. This is just a suggestion. You guys can throw out anything else you want. To go to the Reno Rodeo again as a group on the Wednesday, and then potentially have the next meeting in June in Fallon, in Churchill County. And they don't have a whole lot of recreation projects there. And so we would like to highlight some ways that we would like to assist them. And then, we would be at the event center, but show how amazing they've made the event center out there. And then maybe some ways that we can help progress outdoor recreation surrounding their event center out there. So open to suggestion. We were just throwing that out there. We'll have the NOAA grant presentations hopefully in November if we have funding. So those would be our next two meetings. So if anybody has any ideas, we're open. Anyone online have any suggestions for the next meeting?
October 10th, is that what you said?
October 9th. It's October 9th. Sorry, October 10th is Jill's birthday.
October 9th.
October 9th.
October 9th, but that's October of this year, right?
Yes.
And the only reason I ask is because October, but it's late October, is when we're shooting for the grand opening of the new visitor center at Valley of Fire, which is very close to Boulder City. So
We couldn't.
I don't know if that might be.
We don't have a location.
What's that?
We don't have a location.
Yeah, no, if it was for, it's gonna be in Boulder City, right? Isn't that?
Mhm.
Yeah, so I mean, Boulder City and Valley of Fire close, so. But to do everything in Boulder City at the Railroad Museum, I don't know if it'd be a multiple day thing in order to get out to Valley of Fire. We're just throwing it out there. It might not be completely open to the public, but it might be open enough for this group.
Denise Baronio, for the record, happy to add that. Usually when we go down to Southern Nevada, we try to make it like at least a 2-day opportunity to see other projects down there. So we can certainly add that to the list. And we don't have a location designated yet for the actual meeting. We're just going to highlight projects down there. So meeting locations TBD. So, yes, Sheva.
Sheva Gabor, Forest Service. I was gonna mention Capitol Christmas tree. And we did offer a field trip at the June meeting last year, but I'm almost wondering if we might do a little craft activity and have board members make ornaments if they're interested for the Christmas tree. So something a little different. I don't know if I want to do a whole presentation, but we can overview. It's, you know, the link towards outdoor rec is, that's one of the special things about Nevada that we're trying to highlight in the tree project. So I'm brainstorming while I'm talking, which is maybe never a good thing, but there might be an opportunity to do something short on that if you're interested.
Sure. Denise Baronio for the record. Great idea. I mentioned to you outside of the meeting that Endor is going to be purchasing 1,000 wooden disc ornaments for school-age kids in Carson and Douglas to paint for the Capitol Christmas tree, as well as encouraging them to go hike and find pine cones with their families to make little sheep and cows out of the pine cones. Those are so cute. Totally open to arts and crafts in June, because the ornaments aren't due till September 10th.
That's why I'm thinking of that meeting. And just the short version is the Capitol Christmas trees coming from the Humboldt-Toyabe National Forest, and specifically coming from the state of Nevada. It'll be the first time Nevada's ever provided the tree. So,
thank you. Oh, you and me.
Okay, just bring that on my calendar. Great. Public comment. Public comment is limited to 3 minutes per person. The public may request that items be added to a future agenda. No action will be taken on any matter raised during public comment period that is not already on the agenda. Persons making comment will be asked to begin by stating and spelling your names for the record.
Correction, because I just received a meeting invite. The Nevada legislature has decided to move that bond hearing to Wednesday at 8 a.m. So Wednesday at 8 a.m. if you're interested.
Can you state your names?
Brandon Bishop.
Do we have any other public comment online? Good. Great. Just part of the meeting. Adjournment. Does anyone want to take a motion to adjourn this meeting?
I'll move to adjourn.
Do we have a second? Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any opposed, say nay. Motion passes. Thank you all very much. Great meeting.
The best presentation. That's what we're going to do.
Thanks, Brandon. So my brain is fried.